Welcome, everybody, and thank you all for joining in. As I'm looking at it, we have about 41 people online. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get this party started here. Here we go. So, whoop, there we are. Hopefully, you can all see this, and it says thank you all for coming. Whoop, there we go. Thank you all for coming. And here we go. If you have a body, you are an athlete. So there you have it. It's me, my book. Okay. Now, first tonight, the big ticket tonight is we're going to talk about the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. The course, I'm going to go over a map. I'm going to go over elevation. I'm going to go over things that you can experience and expect to experience. Where you want to be on this Saturday. Why are we doing this Saturday? That's the big ticket for tonight's discussion. But I really also want to get into taper benefits because right now, for most of you, unless you are 4 hour marathon time finishers, 4 hours or faster, you've already begun taper. And for those of you, almost everyone on 4 hours and faster, I think taper taper began today. Thursday began today. So everyone else, it began Monday. So also race day rituals and emotions, we've kind of already covered. I may touch on one or two more little tiny little things on that one. But here we go, taper. I said this before, I'll say it again just because it is so important. We'll cover these really quick. You can gain 0.5% to 6% during taper weeks alone. That is huge. The average person gains, which you can't see behind my face, is 3%. There it is. That is huge. So, whatever you're doing, shut it down 50%, if not 40% less. Absolutely 40 to 50% less from what you were doing last week at peak. It does take 10 to 14 days for an exercise to impact your physiology, change your physiology so you have greater what we call fitness, so you can go faster in the marathon. But, as of Sunday, after Sunday, pretty much that time frame will be come and gone. So if anything, most people, us adults who don't generate truckloads of hormones, which we'll talk about later, most of us gain more from like a longer taper than just 2 weeks. Everybody needs benefits from a 2 week taper. So 2 weeks, that starts this coming Monday. If for most of us, you benefit from starting taper already. And hi. Anyway, so 8 to 9 hours of sleep will definitely benefit you on race day, as my wife just ended, came home and is laughing in the background at that idea. 8 to 9 hours of sleep for us endurance athletes will benefit you for race day. Um, and Julie just said in her dreams, um, no more alcohol within like 2 weeks of the LA Marathon. No, I don't want a beer. I actually don't like beer. Anyway, um, and slowly, if you want to use caffeine on race day and benefit from it, no champagne. Um, um, if you want to use some caffeine on race day and benefit from it by having it spike your adrenaline and get you more energy, you need to start slowly reducing the volume of caffeine that you're taking in now. Caffeine is a drug like any other drug. If you get off of it cold turkey, you'll start shaking. You'll have really, really bad headaches. Don't just go cold turkey. Wean yourself off of it. If you're doing coffee, maybe a quarter cup less every other day or a quarter cup less every day. Try and get down to zero as long before the LA Marathon as you can. Even cup a day coffee drinkers or tea drinkers. Tea, unless you're drinking herbal tea, tea has caffeine in it. Herbal tea, non-caffeinated coffee, great. Even non-alcoholic beer, great. No problems with any of that. but try and get off that caffeine slowly as soon as you can so you can use it. Somebody asked me the other day, what did I do with gels and caffeine? And I used to do like mile 20. It depends on how I felt. You really want to change your game a little bit and have kind of a plan B. If you drop a bottle or something, have, an extra gel or a couple mineral pills or whatever to back up as your plan B. But I used to carry fuel belt bottles with me. That's what I'm talking about, bottles with powder that I could drink. I could never do Gatorade. But what I would usually do, depending on how I felt, is I would have in my right hip side, I would have two gels with caffeine at 50 milligrams per gel, which is a fair amount of caffeine. You can actually get gels with 100 milligrams of caffeine. I think Morton makes them. I think Goo even has a couple flavors with 100 milligrams or whatever. At any rate, I would do 50 milligrams of caffeine either at mile 20 or, depending on how I felt, mile 22. And then, like 2, 3 miles later, depending on whether it was 20 or 22, I would do another 50 milligram gel. That's two gels within 2, 3 miles with 50 milligrams of caffeine each. And man, occasionally by the end, if I was in really good shape, I'd be flying. I'd hit that finish line. I wouldn't want to stop because caffeine fakes your brain to make you think that you actually have way more energy, way more glycogen than what you really do. Your mom was right. Listen to your mother. Eat your vegetables and healthy foods, especially the next couple weeks before the LA Marathon. What you take in is what you're going to be. Energy, what goes in is what comes out, energy wise. Lots of veggies for nutrients, salads, carbohydrates. You can, now that I discussed this a couple weeks ago, now that your volume is declining, you can wean yourself a little bit less, use a little less carbohydrate, maintain protein levels, maintain, like vegetables, all your nutrients, your micronutrients, vitamins and all of that you get from vegetables and whatever. All good stuff. But you could decrease your carbohydrate intake. It's not uncommon to gain about a pound or even 2 during taper. That's okay. You will definitely use it on your marathon. So we will have, it is on your schedule, we will have a 10-minute run or walk or run walk before the day before the LA Marathon. It's going to be in Griffith Park this year, where our Griffith Park group meets, because Griffith Park is so close to the expo, and we won't be near all the race at the race at the expo and all the chaos and the cars and all that people, coming and going. We're going to meet at Griffith Park at 8 o'clock to do a 10-minute run at marathon race pace. Saturday, the day before the marathon, that's Saturday, March the 5th. That's March 15th, March 15th in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from this Saturday, the day before the LA Marathon. Then we can all go to the expo, which unofficially opens kind of at 9 o'clock, but has a hard opening at 10 o'clock. So if you're kind of lined up by 9 o'clock, they kind of take you in anyway, even though they don't announce it. Anyway, little tidbit of information. So we will do that 10-minute run Saturday, the day before the LA Marathon. I highly recommend it. It will give you a 0.05% increase in energy on race day, which is not much. But if you could get 0.05% energy output from doing 10-minute run, I mean, that's extraordinary. Okay. Marathon race pace studies have shown, and we'll talk about this later on in our discussion today, that you do benefit from that short little run. Actually, we can probably skip the discussion later in the talk. Anyway, really quick, we've discussed this before. Real simple, real obvious. You're peaking right here which was last weekend, was the peak, with your long run, with your speed work, all of that kind of already peaked. But the point of this graph is this line right here defines right here, excuse me, the top defines fitness is this line right here. So even though you peaked with your long run, your 20 miler last week or 18 or whatever it was that you did, your fitness continues to increase until race day. And that's right where you want the peak of your ability level, right at race day, if you're following my arrow. So we're right in line. You're right. Your hormone levels are peaking through taper, and your strength is increasing through taper, through doing way, way less. Like I said, 50% less if you're following the schedule. And yet your ability, your fitness levels are increasing. So you're getting so much more. There's a graph that just depicts what I already showed. Here's a really quick graph. The red is energy output, really volume. And then hopefully you can see in the dark brown here are hormone levels. And once again, they work in opposition with each other. So as you're going up here, your hormone levels are going down. As your volume is going down, this red line, I don't know if you can see this dark brown line, is going up. And that's where you're at now, is your hormone levels, your strength, your ability, your fitness. All of that is increasing on this line that I'm following with my arrow. As the red line, your volume is dropping dramatically. And that's where you want to be. Peaking and tapering. A guy named Inigo Mujica at Bath University did studies, and that's what they came up with. And that's what we've already kind of discussed. 2 weeks of taper, 10 to 14 days. We already hit all this stuff. So enough of all that on taper. Now to the big ticket thing of the day. And well, rituals we'll get to. Let me shut this down and go to another screen, which I have the LA Marathon course on. And here it is. There it is. Hopefully you can all see this now. Good. Okay. Now, yeah, let me move me out of the way, my little picture. Good. So the very beginning, we're starting right from the start line, right there. That's inside Dodger Stadium. This Saturday, we will be starting right on the starting line. There's a little blue S for start, painted on both sides of the street, right next to the stadium, right where we're going to be starting. And I will be standing on that after I make my morning announcements and as soon as we get in line to get started with all our pace leader signs and everything. All our pace leaders will be there from hopefully all of our groups. Balboa Park will be in effect on Sunday. Probably not with all our pace leaders, Balboa Park on Sunday, but we are doing Balboa Park because some people just can't do Saturday, and we recognize that. So feel free to join us, Balboa Park Sunday. Okay, let's get started. There's your starting line. Here's your elevation map. Let me move this up. Whoops, a little bit. Can I raise this? Here we go. Here we go. Good. You can all see the elevation map, and you can see the miles. They're in increments of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then the finish. So right here at the very beginning, you're looking at a start of about 535 feet, something like that. There it is. Well, there you go. 0.02 miles in, we're at 535 feet. Right out of the bat, watch that elevation get up to about 550 feet. You know, it's not huge, but right out of the gate, you take a left turn, which we will do on Saturday. We're following the LA Marathon course right out of the stadium. You're going up about 20 something feet, 25 feet. And right out of the gate, people are going way too high a heart rate. And then they're sustaining it. And then you go down a little. Well, watch the elevation. So you're going up. There's 557. So you're almost at 5. There's 559 right out of the gate. And now it's going down again. You've just exited the LA Marathon at almost a fifth of a mile in into the race. Right about there, you're exiting the LA, the Dodger Stadium, I should say. So you've already started on an uphill. People have already started by making a mistake. By going up, you have truckloads of energy. There are 22,000 people that you are surrounded by. The gun goes off. You will hear a little, I think they still use a little cap gun. Oh, no, they use a horn, I think, now. They used to have a cap gun. They don't use it anymore, I think. I think they have an air horn now. Um, you will hear that. And then suddenly, over the loudspeaker, blaring loud, you will hear, I love LA, da-na-na-na-na-na, that 80s song. You got it. Blaring over the loudspeaker. People with balloons, helicopters flying overhead. It is the most exciting, nerve-wracking, scary moment that you could ever imagine. Because if it's your first marathon and you're not used to this, it's a thrill. Okay. And even every marathon, it is a thrill for me, even just standing out there knowing I'm not doing the distance. But right out of the gate, you're going up a hill and people are just barreling through their energy reserves right out of the bat. Problem is your heart rate doesn't come down that quickly while you're still running. So you're now depleting your glycogen levels already, and you just started the marathon. You're only like a fifth of the mile into, pardon me, into your race. What is that? And you're already at what, 500 something feet. But now you're dropping. Now you're on Vin Scully Way. You have a little drop that goes down and then up again. So you're 509, 485. It's a pretty good drop. And now you're coming back up again. You're going back up to almost 500. And then you hit right there, 500. You're about half mile in almost. And you hit Sunset, right? And you hit Sunset. Take a left turn on Sunset, which we'll all do Saturday. And now look at that line. I don't know if you can see that line. It goes down and down and down and then levels off after about a mile or so. It's got a good mile downhill there. And right there, people whose heart rates are elevated from that first fifth of a mile, they're barreling down that hill, man, because let's take advantage of the downhill. And as people pass you by, they'll even be screaming that, take advantage of the downhill, man. You will hear that and just shake your head and go, oh my, that person, I will see them again later. And they will not be as enthusiastic when I pass that person who just passed me flying down that hill, because they started with their heart rate too high going up the hill. Now they're continuing with their heart rate going down the hill too high a heart rate. What happens when your heart rate goes up? Your glycogen levels get consumed more and more and more and more and more at a higher heart rate. Remember all those modules that I showed you guys where the heart rate's going up and the fat consumption's going down and the carbohydrate consumption is going up? Well, they're consuming their carbohydrates right now. Their consumption is increasing as their heart rates continue to rise of carbs. You have a limited reservoir of carbs. You have a large reservoir of fat. Keep the heart rate down, use the fat, save the glycogen. Again, I said this last week, I'll say it again. I want bumper stickers that say save the glycogen. Right here, absolutely critical. The first 6 miles of your LA marathon, this is the make it or break it point of your marathon. And at mile 6.5 or so, when you hit Sunset, 6 1/3, really, when you hit Sunset, if you're feeling good, and you're going to hear me say this again at the end of this lecture, you got it made. Man, you just set yourself up for a great marathon. You will be way behind schedule, but you just set yourself up for a great marathon. If you're feeling tired when you hit Sunset, the more fatigued you are, the more in trouble you are. So let everybody go by you, because you're going to hear their enthusiasm. They'll yell, hey, come on, let's do it. You can get up that hill. Just wait. We got more to go. So now, right about there where it levels off, right there at about 1.2 miles into the course, or maybe a little beyond, we take a left turn. You can see where the dot is, the blue dot on the map on the screen. I'm pointing to it and you can't see my finger. Anyway, you can see the blue dot. The green dot on the map is starting line. The blue dot is where we are. You can see it moving while I'm moving my cursor on the route, right? Okay. So you hit this little flat area here, and now you're entering Chinatown. And you'll take a left turn, a right turn, and then another right turn, and you'll get through Chinatown. There is a little water table right there. That drop of water defines a water table. So you don't really see the left turn, the right turn of it. It's kind of covered by the blue water thing. You can sort of kind of see it. But anyway, and that area there's a little downhill in there, but there's your water table at mile 2.15. So your first water table is not till point 2.15, but no matter how crowded it is, and you're looking at like 10 water tables, with 40 volunteers, do make sure to get in water, often. We just did a blood lactate test a little while ago with one of our athletes, a 3-hour marathoner. And one of our pace leaders. And we realized his sweat rate is through the roof, and his salt consumption was also like 1,200 um, grams per hour or something, some outrageous 1,400 grams of sodium per hour, an outrageous amount, a very high level that he's going to need to take in. But that's something where you're going to need to start calculating how much sodium do you need? How much carbohydrate can you stomach? Try and get in that 40, 50 grams of carbohydrate per hour. A single gel, I know I've showed this before, a single gel is 23 grams of carbohydrate. We do have GU on the course at mile 12 and mile 18, 12 and 18. So you'll need to take in your own gels to get in, or whatever it is that you're going to use to get in that 40, 50 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Do the math. Figure each water table, it's like about 1.25 miles each water table. We have about 17 water tables on the LA Marathon course. You can count them, all those little blue, the little blue droplets of water on the map up there. But anyway, um, so you'll definitely need to stop. There will be electrolyte and water at every water stop. Like I said, like about every 1.25 miles or so. So not as many water tables as they had in the past, which used to be every mile. There you go. So right now you're in Chinatown, which is where the little blue dot is. It's pretty flat as you're looking at the elevation chart. Nothing wrong there. Nice little more added downhill from, where are we in Chinatown? 318 feet. So you really dropped a lot from 500 to 318. You're now down to 266. So what is that? That's about 80-foot drop right there. Oh no, what is that? 318, call it 320 to 260 is, yeah, about 40 to about 60, less than 60-foot vertical drop, something like that, 50, 60. But now look what happens. Now you're about to hit, you see where the cursor is. You're well out of, you're in downtown. You're well out of Chinatown. You're in the, by the way, right after Chinatown is a very interesting courtyard that you'll pass right after Chinatown, right in that area where the blue dot is now. As you're leaving Chinatown, you're entering right after, you're just about to start to enter old LA and then downtown LA. And to your left, you will see an old hotel. And I forgot the name of it. I'll have to look it up, but you'll see it this Saturday. An old hotel and what looks like a kind of Spanish courtyard. And that hotel was actually the first hotel ever to be in Los Angeles. It's about 150 some odd years old. It's no longer used, obviously, but it is the building is still there, and it is the first hotel ever in Los Angeles. And you will be running right past it this Saturday, and of course on your LA Marathon as well, right after Chinatown, where that blue dot is. So you're a little flat, you're a little downhill. We said about 60-foot downhill after that. Now, here's the first big ticket item of the day. Look at the elevation. You're at mile 3.42. Your elevation is 266 feet. You're on 3rd Street. Remember, 3rd Street. Okay? You're going up and up, and you're going to peak at about mile 4.5, and you're now at 397. So you've just gone up from 266 to 397. Get the picture. At 4.5 from 3.3 miles. So that's roughly a good mile of solid killer uphill. Then you go down a little, not much. That was 3rd Street. Then you go over to 1st Street and Temple. There's your second. So it's 3rd Street uphill, then 1st Street uphill. The same, I want you to know that the same hill, right? You're going in the same direction. 3rd Street, you're going up, if you can see my hands. 3rd Street, you're going up. Then you're going over, which is a slight downhill from 3rd to 1st. And then you're going up 1st Street, which will take you to the Disney Hall at the very top, where the taiko drummers are, at the very top of that corner of 1st Street. This Saturday only, we have no taiko drummers, but halfway up 1st Street, we will have a water table right next to the right of you will be the courthouse. LA Courthouse is on 1st Street to the right of you. This Saturday is where your water table will be, which will be right around mile 5. It's looking like 5.1 here, but right around mile 5 is where we'll have a water table this Saturday. By the way, I do recommend that all of you with your pace leaders run the whole 6 miles at marathon race pace from the start. Start out a little slower, like you will do your race. Do the 6 miles the way you're going to do your race. Got it? So you're going to end up being slower when you get to the end of mile 6, but you're going to run it as if it were marathon race day. So I really shouldn't use the term marathon race pace. I should say, run it like you're going to run it on marathon race day. So with those big uphills, yeah, on the giant downhill, maybe you'll get up to like marathon race pace on the downhill, whatever that is, that anticipated goal marathon average race pace. But, on that big hill, that 3rd Street, runners like slower than 4-hour runners to 5-hour runners, those are the 4-hour to 5-hour runners. You're going to be doing a lot of walking in that area. You're going to be, as the hill progresses, you're going to be slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. This is for runners only. And then you're going to be walking a good chunk of that. And maybe you'll throw in a little run as your heart rates come down, and then walk again, a little more run, walk again, keep going. But run walkers, you're going to be doing way more walking. Walkers, you're going to be slowing down. Walkers may even need, like halfway up that 3rd Street and 1st Street, you may want to stop. Just stop. Slow it down and stop. If you feel yourself breathing hard, you're depleting that glycogen consumption level, and you don't want to do that so early in the race. This is 3rd Street is like 3.5 miles into it, and then you're looking at about 4 or 5 miles into it for 1st Street. So that's not 4 and 5 miles. That's not very far. Then, where am I here? Then you got, where's Sunset? You're at 5 miles. I am sorry. The first hill right there is right. Where is it? Right there is right there is 3rd Street. And then you go around, and then right there, the same hill is 1st Street. So it is, I take that back. It is actually, you're on 3rd Street, you're going up a half a mile, then you're going up a little bit of a hill to 1st Street, but then it really kicks in on 1st Street, another half mile uphill. So that is altogether 3rd, then over, then 1st, quite a bit of climb. And then it levels off and you go down a little bit. You're going past the music center, and then you got the big, you're going way down, excuse me, this flat part here that you're looking at where the blue dot is where the music center is, right past the Disney Hall on the corner at the top of 1st Street. Now you're going way down Temple at mile 5. You're at the bottom of Temple. That's about 336 foot vertical at mile 4.79. And as soon as you go underneath, you're going way down. As soon as you go underneath that overpass, there's an overpass that goes over Temple. Now is where it starts to go uphill. It's a pretty dramatic downhill from, let's see, what is it? 397 down to about 330. So it's about 60-foot vertical drop, something like that. Now from 336, you're going way up to about 443 at mile, almost 4.5. You're going over the, right in here, you're going over the freeway, and then you're going up over the freeway. It's still up. And then you take, that's a right turn over the freeway, and then a left turn on a side street. And even on that side street for a few, like 100 meters more, you're still going up a little bit. You're still going up in this area right in here. You're still going up. You can see it kind of on my 444, 440, well, went up to 445. Anyway, 442. Anyway, then it flattens out. Then it starts going down. And now down after the downhill, short downhill, you're right next to Echo Park Pond. And now right alongside Echo Park Pond is where, whoops, let's see if I can zoom in on this. Whoop, the other way. Right at Echo Park Pond, you can kind of see here's 3rd Street. You go over, here's 1st Street. There's the right there is where the Disney Hall is and the taiko drummers. Right here next to the Civic Center, the courthouses. This Saturday only is where we will have our water table. Then you go down Temple, and whoop, there we go. And you're going up Beaudry. It's the side street. This is all uphill until you hit the downhill right about there. From there, all the way from right there's that overpass, right there's a water table there. And right after you go under that overpass, from that point, you can see the green line there, all the way up to about here is all solid uphill. The biggest, it's a little longer than Amalfi. It's a little longer in Santa Monica. It's a little longer than Godzilla in Griffith Park. And there ain't nothing like it, 1.25 miles in a Balboa Park, unfortunately. But then you got this nice little short downhill, and then you're running around the side of Echo Park Pond, right about here where that my hand is, right around there, halfway down is about mile 6. Okay. The end of the park is right around the 10K, the first 10K of your marathon. And then you go up a little hill right here, up to Sunset, and you're going off to Sunset and toward the beach. Now, this Saturday, we will not take a left. You do not want to end up 26.2 miles into the LA Marathon course and say, who's going to pick me up now? You don't want to do that. So what you can do, you'll note from my map for this coming Saturday, that's 2 days from now, you want to take a right turn. This is all uphill again on Sunset. This green dotted line is Sunset. And you will note Sunset will take you back to Vin Scully, which will be to your left, and right back into the parking lot where you came. You'll be grabbing some water right around the area where you started, and then you'll be running. You see this little area here? They are numbered lots 1 through 4 in this little area right here. After you grab water, which actually will be right over here, you're going to run right up. It's what's called Scott Avenue. There's a Scott Avenue exit right there, which will be closed, by the way. You'll run right down that little side street and right this way, actually. You'll run up and around the whole deal like that, clockwise. You'll run clockwise around lot 1 through 4. Do that twice. Head back to the water table down this little minor side street inside the parking lot. This is all parking lot. Stadium Way is outside the parking lot. Parking will be down here, lot G, well, right here. The expo will be like our little mini expo, and the real expo will be in this area here. And the starting line will be this line. You can see this angled arch. That line, that driveway, is the starting line of the LA Marathon. The starting line is actually right about there where my hand is. So those are all the logistics for this Saturday and the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. But you can see right out of the stadium, right this from the green start all the way to there. From there, you have a little downhill. Well, you have a little downhill on Stadium Way, and then it goes back up again, and then you hit Sunset and this big, long downhill that I already showed you. There's a little dip right in here. That's sort of dramatic. At any rate, all that right out of the gate is a good, solid little uphill to really mess everybody up. Got it? Your starting line, actually, like I said, is right a little farther down. The green dot is a little early. The starting line is actually right about here. I don't believe they've moved the starting line. Um, Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll have to ask about that. That's a good question. Anyway, um, there you have it. And the starting line always used to be there. Maybe they did move it a few feet. We'll find out. I'll find out. Anyway, for Saturday, we will start on that starting line Saturday, wherever it is. So that is that. Let's go back to the last of my little discussion here. We talked about, whoops, here we go. And good. We talked about interval tapers and hormone levels. Your hormones go up as your volume goes down, right? And that's exactly what you want. Hormones do rebuild muscle tissue. They rebuild cells. Cellular generation is benefited from certain level degrees of hormones, including human growth hormone, which is kind of an obvious one. Creatine kinase and other hormones do help with cellular regeneration, which rebuilds muscle tissue. Your muscles are basically almost all protein. So good reason to eat more protein during the taper weeks. Don't go crazy with it. A little more, or at least maintain your protein levels. And then we discussed final exponential taper. I said this last week or the week before. Create a ritual for race day. And we'll discuss this maybe one more time the week before, like 3 days before the race. We're going to have another one of these chats to really, really discuss race day, getting where to go to the expo, where to get your wristband, where to go race day inside Dodger Stadium, where cars go into the stadium, where buses go into the stadium, where to park. Hopefully, and I do want to say this right now, do take a look at where you're going to park. In fact, I need to go and buy parking for myself. I need to do that myself. I want to say it's like $40 or something to park in, if you're going to park in Century Park, Century City in that area there. I want to say they're usually about $40. I'm not sure. Um, it's if you're going to park there and get the bus is about a half mile, excuse me, the bus is about three-quarters of a mile from the finish line, almost a mile from the finish line, south on Avenue of the Stars. We'll discuss that again, but you may want to look for parking that's, if you want to park closer to where the bus is going to pick you up in the morning, park in a lot there. If you want to park closer to the finish line, park in a lot that's closer to Century Park West and Santa Monica Boulevard. The finish line this year is not between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars. It's on the corner of Century Park West. They've moved it up a little bit. So there you have it. So do get parking, everybody, soon. The sooner the better. Um, Try and invent, and we'll discuss this again. Saturday is definitely dress rehearsal. Everything you do in practice, do it on race day. Same start time, 7 o'clock. Although truthfully, this Saturday we probably won't get started till 7:30. But just to get the mob of cars into the stadium, which we won't have to deal with on race day. But race day will start right on time, 7 o'clock, unless something crazy goes wrong. Almost always they start right at 7. And do what you're going to do this Saturday. Figure out where you went right, figure out where you went wrong, and then do it on race day. Lock it in. If you screw it up this Saturday, I don't care. That's fine. Don't make sure you learn. Make sure you learn from this Saturday's dress rehearsal. This is, I talk about it's not dress rehearsal, it's training. This one, this is dress rehearsal. This is the big ticket to learn where to screw it up or get it right so that race day you get it right. Got the picture? So lock it in or screw it up. But race day, where it worked, lock that in. What didn't, fix it. I cannot emphasize that enough. Enough said. Um, right now, the next few weeks, invent or just imagine something which gives you enormous emotion, and that emotion could be anything. And it could be rage, it could be hysterical laughter, it could be sobbing tears, it could be anything, fear. I think my wife is probably hearing this, but my wife used to use me catching up to her, which only happened like once. Anyway, catching up to her, and the fear that I would catch up to her and pass her enormously motivated her and stimulated a lot of adrenaline, which motivated her to go faster and give her more energy. Remember? What? She just called out, "You'll never beat me." Anyway, she said, "I always win. Once I beat her. I won't. Anyway, um, but she uses that as fear tactic to generate adrenaline. That's the story she's got in the back of her head or in her back pocket, so to speak, theoretically. And she can pull it out when she needs it. And when she's she's getting to a point where she's struggling, she can kind of pull out that story. Oh my God, David is coming. And she will speed up. She will have more energy because of the fear of, oh my God, I may be catching up to her. Usually I'm like miles. Don't tell her this. I'm usually like miles behind her. Anyway, I think she heard that. Anyway, um, find something that gives you emotion, right? There is a giant bear chasing you. There is, oh my God, you're a parent and you have wonderful kids who you love. Oh my God, I left the kids in the hot car. It's 90 degrees in there. I'm baking. No, find something that generates emotion within you that's not real. doesn't have to be real, but that will generate emotion within you. So let's think of something that you can put in your back pocket, and there you go. Or you're running for someone, Julie just said, that gives you some kind of emotion on race day when things get to be a struggle. Next week we'll talk about how more to do the rest of the marathon and what to do, why you want to calculate 80 minutes left to go in your marathon at your average race pace. What importance does that have on your race? Before it, you're in the red zone. After it, you may want to just go and pass by your group if you're feeling good and if you've taken in enough carbs and minerals and hydration. That's an important thing we'll discuss again next week. And as I say, train smart and train to win, because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. I thank you all. And Julie said, and I'll always beat you. I'll see you all at the finish line. And thanks to all of you for joining. And I'm going to stop the video recording right now. For all of you online, I will definitely answer questions. We'll talk more. For all of you watching this recording, I bid you a good night and happy tapering.